Hey guys, welcome back. I am making my first ever fabric collection. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Drake. I run Crow and Fern. I like to sew and embroider. Today I will be making a couple of my staples, but I'm also making two new products, one of which I have told my newsletter about. The other one was more so of a whim. I am also just like really running behind because I thought I would have enough time to get everything done and made by this weekend, but I kept running out of floss and I had to just stop. And I have like a couple of coin pouches left that I need to finish up, but besides that, everything else is pretty much done. So starting off, we are making the coin pouches. I use a template that it's based off of like my own pattern that I drafted. There's a guy in Greenville that laser cuts out patterns for me if I use them a lot. And because this is one of my staples, I just thought I would just get this made for myself. The interfacing that I'm using is a Pellon fusible fleece. I'm pretty sure you get this basically anywhere at this point. I like to get mine off Wawac, and then you can see that I'm using the air dry, ink disappearing marker, just because like this is going to get cut, this is going to get ironed. Like I don't really have to worry about the ink showing through if it decides to last longer than the 24 hours or whatever. But yeah, so I got these clips organized in different types of products that I'm making just because I typically work sporadically. I do one step for one product and then I move on to a different product and do a different step, and I didn't want to give you guys whiplash. So this would also make it easier for me to talk about like what I'm doing and why I'm doing it the way that I am, just because I know some things don't really make sense, or like the quilt police would be like mad about it. I mean, it's not even just that, because I know like every single hobby has like those group of people that want to dictate about how you can do certain things, or like, it's just crazy because like you're allowed to be creative, you're allowed to maybe do things wrong or non like traditional. Like here, I like to, cut up my fusible fleece and then iron on the exterior fabric. Yes, I know this wastes a little bit of fabric, but I love using scraps, so it doesn't really bother me. Not to mention, doing it this way keeps me from having to constantly clean the gunk off of my iron. And I messed up in a later this video when I was doing the pencil cases because I had accidentally cut out the exterior lining when I was cutting out the interior lining. And so then I had to, iron on the interfacing like how most people do it, to my knowledge. And I ended up getting the glue stuck onto the sole plate of my iron, which was very annoying because I didn't notice at first. And then I kept getting like black specks on my stuff. I was like, oh no. So I had to stop, clean that. It was a huge time waster. I also didn't think that this video would be about an hour long whenever I was editing. It was 2.5 hours long, which is unfortunate because I don't feel like waiting for my video to upload forever. So I put most of these clips at like 150 to 200 speed to hopefully, get things moving a little bit faster. I don't feel like yapping for the whole hour. I mean, I know I can, but I don't think I want to. So I will just like leave music in periodically. And if you guys have a question about like what I'm doing specifically, feel free to drop it in the comments. I love responding to y'all. And while I'm here talking about it, I would really appreciate a subscribe or a like. I do love when my analytics go up. I do really like working on these just because they work up super fast. I think the thing that takes me the longest is sewing on the frame. I have to do that by hand. I'm not risking it with a machine. I've never seen anyone sew these frames onto, these pouches with a machine. I know sometimes people can use glue. I don't trust glue. I would rather just take the time to, use the embroidery thread. And then, I think it looks nice, but it slows me down a lot because sometimes the floss snaps, it cuts itself, it breaks off. And then I have to also take the time to use beeswax to like strengthen the floss. And sometimes I just run out and I won't have a backup color. And that's awful because then I have to just stop what I'm doing, go to Michael's or stop what I'm doing and then do something else. So like right now I have basically everything done except like 3 or 4 of the pouches because again, I ran out of floss. These turn out cute like 100% of the time, so I really don't mind the extra effort that I have to take to, get to that point. I have always gotten positive comments. They have always held up super well, and because I'm confident in my stitching ability, I don't have to worry about these bags falling apart. I am obsessed with this collection. It's been so long since I've had this level of whimsy in my kind of sewing. And here is what I was talking about when I was ironing the exterior to the interfacing. Those little edges get glue on your sole plate, and then if you don't clean it when it's hot, it can eventually rub off onto fabric. And if you're working with light colors, getting random black specks that you may or may not be able to scrub off is a huge pain. And unfortunately, I had to deal with. Thankfully, everything ended up being okay. But again, when you are trying to clean a hot iron, it's hot. You got to be careful because you might burn yourself. And I'm not very known for being careful, so I try to not have to ever clean my iron as much as I can because I know I'm going to get burned. I also did want to note that I do have products in here, including this one, where I have some steps included in the video, but I'm also just missing other steps. And that's because, again, I work back and forth. I come home from work, I forget to record, or I get tired, or it's just I don't know, man, I'm tired all the time, every day, but the show must go on. I'm pretty sure I'm going to make another video about the actual collection and how it looks, because again, not everything is done. I have a couple things I gotta finish, and then I want y'all to be able to see the whole collection together instead of, just bits and pieces like this. Another thing is I have made pencil cases in the past before, and it was actually one of the first things I learned how to sew when I first got my first sewing machine. And I've made so many of them that I just got tired and burnt out, and I just stopped making them. And then I started doing them again just because you see that zipper? I want to make sure that my sewing machine could at least handle the small zippers. And if it can, then I can see about making some different types of bags or pouches in the future. So, testing out the zippers with the pencil cases. Thankfully, I didn't have any issues. Everything turned out lovely, and I am super excited for y'all to see it. as much as I'm loving this new iron, it is a guzzler. And so I have to stop all the time to refill the tank, which honestly is fine because I love working with steam. However, the little, what's it called? The plastic piece that goes up, it's very difficult for me to open. So I always have to end up using like something else around me to open it, just because otherwise I will like hurt my nail and I'll be like upset about it. It's just not worth that. Now we are on to the scrunchies. I think I have a good bit of footage for this actually in terms of sewing it, getting the elastic through, turning it inside out. Again, scrunchies aren't very difficult to make, so if you're new to sewing, I highly recommend that you start doing this kind of project. I might make a video specifically about how I make them or like the dimensions that I use, but it's like one of those things where you can do whatever you want with like length in terms of like elastic or like how wide the fabric is. But again, I could just make another video going over that. I plan on making a couple bundles from the fabrics. I got 6 different colors and my bundles come in a set of 3. So I'm thinking about having 2 alternating sets and then maybe leaving out a couple scrunchies to be like individual so that way people can mix and match their own. I don't know how, but I messed up the cutting. And so I have 4 of each color except for 1, which means I will basically have 2 sets of set A and set B, and then there'll be 1 left over of one color and then 2 left over of all the other colors, which is a little bit unfortunate because I don't like it when it's like uneven like that, but it is what it is. I can't really do anything about it now. At least I have enough to make those first 2 sets, so I got that going on. Scrunchies in particular are also one of those items that are really repetitive and sort of boring for me to make if I'm not excited about the fabric. And as much as I love this fabric, when it comes to like turning the scrunchies inside out, I have to like have YouTube or like music going on in the background just to like mentally stimulate me, because otherwise I'll just get bored. I want to do something else and then things don't ever get done, pretty sure you guys have seen me make wristlets like plenty of times. It's one of those things that I am 50-50 on. I'm not too sure about how to prioritize them just because my first show, I didn't sell any. My second show, they tied with my bestseller, which are the scrunchies. So I really don't have a baseline of how much effort I need to be putting into them. Because I only got a yard of like each color, I don't really have a lot of fabric to play around with after the coin pouches and after the scrunchies. And so wristlets are just a really good way for me to use up that scrap fabric. And just because, like, you know, it's a low price point and I don't feel bad about charging a little bit lower for these. And it also just helps me be a little bit more accessible to those, like, you know, with kids or on tight budgets at shows. I don't know if you've noticed, but a large majority of sewing isn't actually using the machine, it's ironing. And so I don't regret splurging on my iron because I use this so often. Probably, I want to argue that I use it more than my actual sewing machine, but don't let it hear that. So here are the glasses sleeves. I announced this on my newsletter, which I have 2 subscribers, which is honestly really cool because like 2 is a lot more than 0. And I actually get to practice feeling like a legitimate business, even though I feel like a joke half the time. I got these glasses cases or glass case, sunglasses pouch. You know, you slip your glasses in there in your bag and it keeps it from getting scratched up. And these are super cute. Again, uses very little fabric. So I am able to experiment with like new colors or just use up some like fabric from my old stash. I have a couple made that's not in this collection, that I tested out. And I'm pretty happy with how they came out. And I'm really loving how these look. However, with how small that opening is, and because my machine doesn't have a free arm, I wasn't really able to get any good angles when it comes to like putting the liner and like sewing it together with the exterior. So again, I'm probably gonna have to post another video to like showcase the full collection. Again, isn't that bad. This video is long enough as is. So yeah. So here's a product that I'm actually like really excited about because like this doesn't have much to do with sewing at all. I'm definitely going to make a video about this one specifically. If you're someone who has a lot of scrap fabric that's like really cute and you just don't want to throw it away, I got like some like cabochon trays, and I'm getting this cardstock, cutting it out, using up the scraps from this collection to turn into jewelry. And I'm currently waiting on supplies to come in. So I definitely only was able to get the pendants done for this video, but I am hoping to make like some chain jewelry and hoping to make some chokers out of these. So I am super excited. I love how these turned out. And again, these came up super fast, and I love, again, using all of my fabric so that way I don't feel bad about throwing stuff away. But yeah, I do feel bad that like I didn't get to announce this to my newsletter because this was sort of a whim. But I am super happy with how like cute these are and how well they fit into the collection in general. Not to mention, whenever I go to like shows, not everybody is into like my sewing stuff. So I think by branching out into jewelry making, this can like really give me like an edge to stand out even more than I already do. I don't know if you guys made it this long to the video, but if you did, I really, really appreciate you. It would really help out if you guys gave a like or a follow. I even have my newsletter in my description. So, just follow the link. It's a Google form, nothing fancy, but I have like 2 craft shows coming up. So I am going to be really busy. I'm not quite sure of how long my videos will be next weekend. Again, this wasn't supposed to be an hour-long video. The original footage I had was like 2.5 hours. So trying to cut stuff out and then speeding things up. Yeah, this took forever, especially like to upload. I love the progress that I made, but oh my God, it took me forever. I really appreciate you guys hanging out, and I hope you guys are as excited for this collection as I am. I cannot wait to show you guys the finished products, and I am hopefully going to be able to announce it to my newsletter soon before the craft shows. But we will see how that goes. I'm not too sure if I want to bring it to the shows in general or if I just want to wait until my show season ends. I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend, and I will see y'all when I see y'all. So yeah, bye guys.